Hi, I'm Jay, welcome to the workshop, and today we're going to be talking about my heavy rear end. Right, so what do I mean by this? Obviously not me. Some of you might have noticed on some of our trip videos and other videos that on the back of the Hilux we have this custom made fully steel winch bumper, I guess is the best way to describe it, which is also designed to take a spare wheel and jerry cans. Now, again, like I said, it's custom made, I made it myself. Basically it started off as a need to carry the wheel on the back of the vehicle rather than on the top of the roof rack, so it's a little bit easier to access. And while I was there, mounting a winch for self-recovery purposes. Now, a few people asked me, why don't you just put a winch in the front like everyone else does? A couple of points really, which I'm not going to go too far into because that's not this kind of video. First of all, in Jersey our laws are slightly different to the UK, so we can't have any solid piece of vehicle, I guess you could call it, at the very front. So as vehicles come out of the factory, they have pedestrian safe zones, guess what you call it, which are soft areas where in an impact with a pedestrian they would flex and minimize the impact of the injuries. Jersey vehicles cannot compromise that structure, so unless your car came out of the factory with a steel bumper on the front, you can't have a solid steel bumper. Yes, we could have put the winch behind the front bumper, but if you get pulled over by the wrong person, basically, they could argue that where the actual winch is exposed to expose the cable, that could be a solid point. So it's easier just to throw it in the back. Plus, the other reason is if we be going down a particularly tricky track and I misjudge the terrain and get stuck, we want to winch ourselves out of the situation rather than through it. Just a personal reason for that. Then we can reevaluate if we want to go any further, or if we want to try and turn around and leave, saving damaging the vehicle, for example. However, at the time, didn't really think about the actual weight of this thing. Now, it should have dawned on me once the winch was installed in it. It took 4 blokes to get this onto the back of the Hilux. That should have been a bit of a red flag, so to speak. The final straw for redesigning this, or redoing it, which I'll come back in a second, was when our rear diff bearing went. We had that fixed, and the mechanic which I deal with said that it is a common problem with the Hiluxes, but the added weight in the back really doesn't help. So on that we went on a bit of a diet. First, starting with equipment, we got rid of a load of equipment. We didn't need quite a lot of spares. I used to take a litre of each oil that the Hilux required. That's now gone, just the essentials there. Also, the jerry cans kind of went. We used to take 2 20-litre jerry cans with us. That's a bit OTT unless you're going somewhere you know you're not going to have access to water for a couple of days, so we just take the 1 20-litre jerry can and fill it up as required. The other item in the back is the set of drawers. Can't make them any lighter. They're a 1/2 inch marine ply carcass with 3mm aluminium drawers themselves, so they're as light as I can make them. So the last area of weight reduction, the bumper. Now, in the 3 years we've had it in, I've only used the winch in anger once, and that was a charity 4x4 day, which quite a lot of people were getting stuck, and I happened to be the only one on site with a winch, so that was the only reason. I've never actually had to winch myself out of any situations. So the first thought, remove the winch. Not getting rid of it completely. It's now going to be put onto a removable cradle, which will go into the 2-inch receiver and fed by a Anderson plug for power. This means I can make the bumper smaller, which shouldn't improve the departure angle, and I can also make it out of lighter materials because now it's not actually physically taking the strength of the recoveries. It's more mainly just to protect the back end of the car. So, this is the bumper itself. Well, the beginnings of the bumper, because we hit a little snag, which again I'll get to in a minute. Idea behind it is very similar to what I believe the ARB aluminium bull bars are like. It's going to have a steel construction behind it, and this is the heavy duty faceplate, so to speak. So it's got all the original features of the old bumper, just in a smaller. So we're going to have light clusters because the spare wheel obstructs the original ones, license plate holder, and these squares here are going to have the Wilderness Lighting Compact 2 Plus, I think that's right, lights mounted in here for reverse lights. This square here is where the 2-inch receiver is going to be, and I'll show you that in a minute. Other than that, it's going to be a very basic bumper, almost like you'd get on a normal vehicle, but something that should be able to take a bit more of a beating. It's all made out of marine grade 3mm aluminium, and braced in the right way should take quite a battering without actually bending or warping. This is the tow bar replacement. So before the actual bumper itself was the tow bar, it was all integrated into the steel, which is why I went with the steel material in the first place. However, obviously because the aluminium can't take the weight of towing and recovering, this has now got a separate, almost standard tow bar with one big unique aspect: the 2-inch receiver. 2-inch receiver is more of an American thing, but it's starting to rear its head in off-road situations because it's a lot easier to remove the tow bar to gain that little extra bit of ground clearance when you're off-roading. Also, you can use quite a lot of accessories of these, bike carriers, shackle mounts, your standard drop plates for your 2-inch towing balls, all sorts of things. Anything you can fit in there and lock it in, it will carry. Including our winch cradle. So our winch cradle will fit, it'll be this tube on it, will be to fit the inside diameter of that. It'll slide in, you put the pin in. Somewhere here or underneath, I haven't quite decided yet, will be a Anderson connector, and you'll connect it in, plug the remote in, and away you go. In theory, I could put another one of these on the front and use the same winch front and back, obviously not at the same time, but it means that I would only have to carry one winch around. I'd be able to winch in both directions. Maybe into the future, I haven't quite decided yet. So you might remember early on in the video we said we hit a little bit of a problem. Now, went to work on Saturday. I had to do it at work because this, like I said before, this bumper took 4 people to get on. So unless I had 4 people kicking around the house which were willing to take off what I'm assuming is almost 100 kilos worth of bumper, I had to use a crane. So I used the workshop's crane to get it off between me and a mate. Chopped the old one apart, got the winch out of it, and then set about installing the tow bar. It's only when we got the tow bar together we went and test fitted the bumper and realised I hadn't accounted in my design for these tabs that stick out. If I remember correctly, these were part of the original mounting points for the original bumper, and I assumed, without looking at the vehicle, again, without thinking, that this was a flat surface. So in my quest to make it as small as possible, I've made it too small and it hits on that bracket. Now, To be fair, even if it did fit, it wouldn't have really looked right because the bumper only comes to about here on the tub. So this bit of tub is exposed, and if you look straight down it, you'd be able to see the original tub, which is not really a look I wanted for, plus wouldn't protect the tub. So my answer to this is to go back on my CAD system, redraw it all out, and I'm now going to have to pull this bumper mostly apart to make a couple more angles to make this fit. So basically that's where we're at the moment. So that's basically it for this video. That's as far as we've gotten with that so far. Like I said, I need to adjust the bumper before I go any further. Slowly but surely we're moving forward with the air controller project. Just waiting for a couple of things to arrive in the post so I can start implementing it into the Hilux. Other than that, we've got a few other ideas for a couple of videos, mainly reviewing some long-term products we've been using, some wilderness lighting lights, bars and light units we've been using for a couple of years now, and maybe even some camp equipment that we've been using since day one even. So yeah, look forward to that, and until then, I'll see you later.